Section 22A is about adding rational numbers. There's a lot of ways to add numbers, a lot of ways to teach adding numbers. I'm going to try to show you two of my favorites, and hopefully you'll like one of them. You can use a number line to help add numbers, and I find that very helpful. When adding a number on a number line, you're going to move to the right. That's important. So when you're adding, you're moving to the right. The only difference there is when you see a negative sign on a number, that means change direction. So let's use these two rules on some number lines to see how it works. Remember, adding means go to the right, but a negative sign says change direction. All right, here's some number lines and some expressions we have to add. -3 plus -4. Well, -3 is the first number we're going to start at, so we'll start right here on -3. We'll think about it that way. Now it says plus something. Well, when we add, we're going to start going to the right. But a negative sign says we're going to change direction. So we would be going to the right and adding if it didn't say adding a negative. So instead, we're going to end up going to the left 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we end up right here on -7. So -3 plus -4 is -7. Again, adding means go to the right, but a negative sign says change direction. So you flip over and go to the left. Next one. 2.5 gets us about right here. So we'll start there. Adding means go to the right, but a negative says change direction. So we're really going to go to the left 3.5. So here's our half, and then 1, 2, 3. 2.5 plus -3.5 gets us at -1. Now some people don't like to use the number line, they'd rather use rules. So here's a set of rules we've developed to help you add. If you're adding two numbers and they have the same sign, you're going to do these three things. You're going to find the absolute value of each number, you're going to add them, and then you're going to put the sign of the greater absolute value back on. Some people use the acronym SSA to remember that. It stands for same sign add. The other part of the rule is different signs. You're going to still find the absolute value, but you're going to subtract them. Take the big one minus the small one, and then you're going to put the sign of the greater absolute value back on. So your answer, you always put the sign of the greater absolute value back on. Now with this set of rules, we use different sign subtract. That's how people remember that. So in summary, same sign, you're going to add the numbers. Different sign, you're going to subtract the numbers, or I should say the absolute values. Let's give it a try. Here we're adding two numbers that have the same sign. So we're going to use this same sign add concept. So we're finding the absolute value. We're going to drop the signs. We're going to do 11 plus 7. 11 plus 7 is 18. And remember, our answer always has the sign of the greater absolute value. Since 11 is bigger than 7 and 11 is negative, we're going to put a negative on our final answer. I probably shouldn't write it there. I should probably write -18 over here so you see. That's an example of same sign add. This one is we're adding two numbers with different signs. So we're going to use this DSS, or this different sign subtract idea. Well, we'll take the absolute values. 52.6 is the bigger one. So we're going to, DSS says different sign subtract. We're going to subtract 38.7. So we're going to borrow. This gives me a 9. We're going to borrow again. This gives me a 6. So 16.9 is what I get when I subtract those numbers. Now, we always take the bigger absolute value and put the sign back on. Because the bigger absolute value is negative, 52.6 is bigger than 38.7, that means my answer will be negative. Here are some more examples using our rules. This one we're adding two numbers with the same sign, so we'll say same sign add, drop the signs, and we'll add them together. Now when you add decimals, don't forget that you have to line up the decimal places. So 3, carry the 1. So 17.43 is what I get when I add those two numbers together. Now we take the bigger absolute value. In this case, -12.81 has the bigger absolute value. Because it's negative, then I can say that my answer will be negative. Here's an example where we're going to add two numbers with different signs. So we'll say different sign subtract. Now we're going to have to figure out which one of these is bigger. The way we do that is we got to get them to have common denominators. So 4 over 7 and 1/2, the common denominator here is 14. So we'll multiply this by 2 over 2, and this one by 7 over 7. So that's 8 over 14, and this is 7 over 14. So this one has the bigger absolute value. So we're going to do 8 over 14, and then we're going to subtract the smaller one, 7 over 14. And that equals 1 over 14. So different sign subtracts means you take the bigger minus the small one and get an answer. Now which one of these is bigger again? The 8 over 14. Because that's positive, I know the answer, or the sign that I put on my answer, is a positive sign.